Hey, 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 it's football time. We're in week 2 already, Thursday, 17th of September. You know what that is? I got bit by the fantasy bug. I can't stop. I'm on DraftKings all day long now. I finally made my money back after losing the first few contests that I entered. I won something in a baseball pool the other night, back to even, and there's no stopping me now. If our congressmen are going to say, hey, this is legal, in legislation called the Unlawful Internet Gambling Act, if they're going to say that fantasy sports is a game of skill, well, I'm going to have to prove them right or wrong, and I think I'm going to prove them right. Because what you're looking at is a crazy sheet that I've created. This is DraftKings data. These are players. These are their salaries at the beginning of the season and after week 1. These are how many points they scored in fantasy player points they scored in week 1. This is what they averaged last year, and basically at the beginning of the season, this is what their average points per game were from 2014. So it says 2015 start because it's the beginning of this year. So this is what they had last year. And then I have a column over here for cost per point. That's my kid coughing his lungs up over there. You all right, kiddo? Yeah, he's fine. All right, so this is a cost per point that shows you how much you're paying for point, assuming that the player scored just as many fantasy player points in week 2 as he did in week 1. I've been digging through data. I've been compiling some teams. I'm feeling really good about this week. This is really cool. So how's this work? Well, you can say, all right, week 1, who had the best week? When you're looking at everybody, Julio or Julio Jones, however you want to say it, had a big week. Carlos Hyde had a big. Who do these people play for? You're going to get information when you open this up. You're going to see that Atlanta is who Julio plays for, and they're playing the Giants this week. And he costs $800, and he's only $234 a point if he has another 38-point game, right? Carlos Hyde's even cheaper if he has another game like he did against Minnesota, because he's with San Francisco, and he's a running back, and he had a big game against Minnesota. How do I know that? Well, when I open up and I show both weeks, and I look at Carlos Hyde again, where did he go? Let's find him. He's right there. I see that he had this big game against Minnesota on Sunday night, I think it was. No, Monday night. So he would have been really expensive last week if you didn't know he was going to have a huge week. Right? He was $5,300. He was only averaging 5.4 points a game, 5.4 fantasy points a game in 2014. So he looked really expensive. Turns out he ends up being a great deal. He's only $145 a point because he pulls in 35 points. Is he going to have another week like that against Pittsburgh this week? Probably not. Pittsburgh's defense probably is a little better than Minnesota. So you can start digging and asking some questions. I just have been able to really dig into this information and make some good assessments about what's going on. Like, I took Carson Palmer this week. I guess I'm giving out my fantasy knowledge so everyone can compete with me. And there won't be millions of people watching this video, so it's okay. I picked Carson Palmer this week because he had a huge week against New Orleans last week. And they're playing Chicago that got lit up by Green Bay last week. So the chances of him putting up more points again, he put up 28 points last week against New Orleans. I think, he's still cheap here at $234 a point. The color coding over here tells you, like, the closer it gets to green, like the darkest greens are going to be the lowest dollars per point, so that's going to be your best deal. As it gets to red and higher up, that means that they're super expensive, so they're probably not going to be a good deal if last week is a good predictor of this week. Like Joe Flacco, right? He costs $6,400 this week. He had a terrible week last week against Denver, right? So he only pulled in 2 points against Denver. This week they're playing Oakland, though, and Oakland got lit up because Oakland's now no good. So you have to look and see who they're playing and then determine whether or not you want to pay for him. But, based on last week's data, he's not a good pickup. Mariota, I also like him. I have him in a secondary contest that I entered in because he's still cheap. I'm surprised that his salary didn't go up. He threw, they lit up Tampa Bay. They threw, I think they scored the most points of any team last week. I'm pretty sure they did. I know Tampa Bay has a phantom ghost defense, but still, Cleveland also got beat pretty heavily last week by who did Cleveland lose to? Here's a way you can check the answers to this. You can just click a team, and you can see these are all the people that play for Cleveland, and they played the Jets, and they lost to the Jets. And Johnny Manziel only had 11.8 points. He sees relatively expensive at 441. It's gonna like him. You can see this is really cool. This is really cool, and I'm gonna have every single week as we go forward, so you're really gonna be able to track all this stuff week to week. That message is really annoying. So, I liked Matt Fort. I think I picked up. You got the Thursday night games with Jamal Charles playing. It's really cool. Anyway, so yeah, I'll put a download link to this fantasy file, and you can have some fun with this as well. And we can see if this is actually predicting anything, because who doesn't want to win $1 million? I mean, get the wife off your back on a Sunday. Be like, hey, honey, I know I've been watching football for like 19 straight hours, but we're going to buy a new car. Because you can put in $3 and win $1 million. I like that. If it's legal, why not? Anyway, all right, so I also have the Survivor Pool SPAC, which is just Survivor Pool is just picking winners. So this file went 8-8 in week 1, using stats from 2014 to determine who they thought were going to win. So this is what happened. So Arizona we got right, Atlanta we got wrong, big time too. Atlanta had them heavily favored. They won. I'm sorry, had Philadelphia heavily favored, and Atlanta won. Bummer. Did not have this one, Buffalo and Indianapolis. I don't think anybody did. So was wrong there. Was right about Green Bay winning. Was right about Dallas winning, even though that was super close, and I didn't expect it to be very close. I was right about Denver winning. Wrong. This game was almost a toss-up, though. Houston and Kansas City, even though Kansas City beat them, I think, pretty hard. And then wrong about... Really? Was I wrong about this game? I had Jacksonville over Carolina? No way. No, I'm sorry, I got that right. If it's green, it's right. If it's green, that means I got the game right. I did have Carolina over Jacksonville. Did have the Patriots over the Steelers. Did not have the Jets over the Browns. Did have Cincinnati over Oakland. I had Detroit over San Diego, and they almost won. They were off to a big lead. I had Minnesota apparently over San Francisco. I don't know why I did. I guess they had one more win last year than San Francisco. Fell apart last year. I liked San Francisco without looking at the stats. And then this game, of course, who was going to have St. Louis over Seattle? And then, yeah, so now here with Mariota playing, I'm playing well. Knowing what I know now, you can go back and see that Tennessee is probably going to beat Tampa Bay, as they did. And I had the Dolphins over the Redskins. Didn't even need to look at stats for that. But let's go to week 2. So what does week 2 look like? Well, I brought in week 2, and now I'm using just data from week 1. I'm not even using last season's data. I'm just using the data from week 1 to figure this out. So there's some things I like and some things I don't like because there's limited data in here, right? I do like Arizona over Chicago. This game's probably going to be a toss-up. I don't think Atlanta's really a 28% favorite. I do like the Ravens over Oakland, even though they had trouble against Arizona, right? Or no, sorry, Denver. I don't know what's going to happen here. I'm not surprised that's a 5% toss-up. It's going to be a good game. I do like Carolina over Houston probably, but I don't think they're really a 43% favorite. Is that showing? I'm not entirely sure, but I still like Carolina. All right, we already went through that game. Let's just look at home games so that we don't go through everything twice. So Cincinnati and San Diego. Oh, that's interesting. Cincinnati 42% favorite, huh? They're home. Probably going to win that game. Cleveland, negative 261%. against Tennessee. Yeah, so that's because Tennessee put up 42 points. So it's probably not going to be this one-sided, but I do like Tennessee over Cleveland in this game. I think I like Green Bay over Seattle. That would make sense, right? Is Indianapolis going to come back after that rough loss to Buffalo and do anything against the Jets? This could be an interesting game. I mean, it says the Jets are heavily favored here, but we'll see. I do like Miami over Jacksonville. These percentages get distorted when we shrink games down, but still, it's kind of good to look at. I think I do like Kansas City over Denver. Wasn't all that impressed. I think Peyton Manning's like day-to-day or something, too. I like Detroit over Minnesota. I like New Orleans over Tampa Bay, even though New Orleans didn't play very well. First game, Tampa Bay's just awful. Tampa Bay's going to do one of those, 1 in 15 seasons again. Giants in Atlanta, that's a toss-up. And I do like Baltimore over Oakland. And I do like Dallas over Philadelphia. And I don't know about this game, Pittsburgh and San Francisco. That's distorted. And yeah, the Rams are probably going to beat the Skins, but it'll probably be closer than their game against Seattle, I think. So that's what it's looking like. Cool stuff. I'll put some download links in here, and we'll just keep plugging away. And like I said, I am bit by that fantasy bug. It is fun. It is. I mean, talk about being excited to watch the games and every single play, and the website that DraftKings has going where they have the live tracking and every single play that happens, your points go up. It's really something, and it's not legal in every state, but hopefully it's legal in your state, and I think it's great for the game and great for the fans, and it's better than. I can see why it's legal, and betting on games is illegal because you're not going to be in a situation where you're throwing down more than you should one game at a time and trying to catch up. Like, it's an all-day thing. Like, you enter a tournament today that's going to run and going to finish on Monday night, and you could be for $3, $10, $20, like whatever it is that you can still win $1 million. It's like a lottery with an edge, and that's fun. It's fun, and I don't think people are hopefully gambling away their rent check and losing daycare money on DraftKings. I sure hope not. I don't think they are. Not the same way you can betting on sports. So, awesome. Anyway, we'll keep the stuff updated. Can't stop